like we've looked at a lot of Konami games lately. Konami. I say that funny sometimes. I don't know why. Let's take a look at this one. You might have heard of it. The universe teeters on the brink of total annihilation at the hands of the vile alien warmonger Red Falcon. Earth's only hope rests with you, a courageous member of the Special Forces Elite Commando Squad. Your mission? Battle deep into the deadly Amazon jungle where the Red Falcon and his galactic henchmen have transformed ancient Mayan temples into awesome monuments dedicated to mass destruction. Multitudes of weapons, from rapid-fire machine guns to high-tech lasers, are at your disposal as you sweat blood, fighting past 3D mazes, underground security systems, and tropical forests surrounded by giant waterfalls and alien cannons. This is the ultimate test for the ultimate guerrilla warrior. And if you survive, Earth survives. That's cool. This is Contra, if you didn't know. Released in 1988. And we are playing a translated Japanese version with the cutscenes and all the other cool stuff added. How about that? Kind of neat. So, known as Grisor in Europe and Oceania, it is a 1987 running gun action game. Oh wait, but that's Jackal. Now I'm confused. Originally released as a coin-op arcade game, the home version was released for the NES in '88, along with ports for various computer formats, including the MSX2. The home versions were localized in the PAL region as Grisor, or various other computer formats as Probotector on the NES, released long later. Several Contra sequels were produced following the original. We get Grisor and Probotector and some new sprites in the different versions, mostly because of regional censorship issues. In Contra, we control one of two armed military commandos named Bill Mad Dog Riser and Lance Scorpion Bean, who are sent on a mission to neutralize a terrorist group called the Red Falcon Organization that's planning to take over the Earth. Details of the game settings vary between supplementary materials. The Japanese version sets the game in the year 2633 on the fictional Galuga archipelago near New Zealand, whereas the manual for the American NES version sets the game during the present in an unnamed South American island. The American storyline also changes the identity of Red Falcon from being the name of a terrorist organization to the name of an alien entity. The main character is equipped with a rifle and unlimited ammo. The player can jump, move, and fire in 8 directions, as well as move or jump simultaneously while firing. A single hit from an enemy, bullet, or other hazard will instantly kill the player, and you will discard your current special weapon. There are over 10 areas in the game. There are 2 types of stages in Contra. In addition to the standard side view stages, Contra also featured stages in which the player character is seen from behind and must move towards the background in order to proceed. Each of these 3D maze stages are set inside the corridor of an enemy base, in which the player must fight through the base's defenses in order to reach the core of the base. During the 3D maze stages, the upper screen will display a map of the base along with a time limit. Each maze stage is followed by a 3D fixed stage set at the core of the base, in which the player must destroy a series of flashing sensors to explode an even larger sensor and destroy it. Contra also features a 2-player co-op mode. Both players occupy the same screen and must coordinate their actions. One player lagging behind can cause problems for his partner, as the screen will not scroll onward, and a slow player can be fatal to your partner. The European release of Grisor does not feature simultaneous 2-player mode. Instead, both players take turns. Whenever one player dies, the other gets his turn. Under license from Konami, Ocean Software produced ports of Contra under the title of Grisor for the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, and Amstrad CPC, which were released in Europe in '88. An IBM PC version was developed by Banana Productions and released in North America. This version was released in Europe under the Grisor name. Ocean's ports were patterned after the original arcade version. The Commodore 64 version was released in North America under the Contra title. The cover illustration of Ocean's Grisor ports by Bob Wakelin was inspired by different poses from Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Predator film. The illustration was later used for the American cover art of the NES version and the Japanese back cover of the MSX2 version. Konami produced its own home version of Contra for the NES and Famicom, which was released in February of 1988. The PAL version, titled Probotector, was released in December of 1990. The NES version of Contra differs from the arcade in a few ways. All 10 stages are present, although the core segments are no longer individual stages but boss battles that occur at the end of each base stage, reducing the total number of stages to 8. These base stages themselves were also made into linear levels instead of their original maze-like structure, resulting in the removal of the map display, and the time limit was removed as well. The rest of the game stages were also modified with the addition of more traps, such as surfacing spiked walls, mortar launchers, and bottomless pits. The design of the Area 3 boss, originally the Area 4 boss in the arcade, was changed as well. All 6 power-ups from the arcade are present, with a machine gun and laser rifle now represented by the letter-based Falcon icons, an M and an L respectively, like the other 4 power-ups. A 7th power-up also introduced called the Special, which destroys all on-screen enemies once picked up. It is represented by an unmarked Falcon icon. Unlike the arcade version, the flying capsules appear regardless of which weapon the player is using. The NES version is one of the earliest games to use the Konami code, which originated with the NES version of Gradius. Inputting the code entirely as the screen scrolls or entirely after the screen scrolls on the title screen before starting the game will grant each player 30 lives each time they start, both when the game begins and each time the game is continued. Much of the game's popularity came from its 2-player simultaneous gameplay, which was an uncommon feature in video games at the time of Contra's release. While successful in the arcades, the game became and remained widely popular and remembered when it was ported to the NES in 1988. Contra was voted number 1 by IGN as being the toughest game to beat. Nintendo Power ranked it 7th best NES video game system, calling it one of the best multiplayer NES games, and Screw Attack named it the 5th best NES game of all time. In 2010, IGN ranked the main antagonist, Red Falcon, 76th in its top 100 video games. The arcade version was followed by a single sequel titled Super Contra. The NES version of Super Contra was released 2 years after the arcade version with the shortened title of Super C. The NES versions of Contra and Super C were the first in a series of Contra games for home platforms. Konami would follow their releases with Operation C for the Game Boy in 91, Contra 3, The Alien Wars for the Super NES, and Contra Force for the NES, both in 92, and Contra Hardcore for the Mega Drive in 1994. During the late 90s, Konami externally contracted Appaloosa Interactive for the development of 2 sequels for the PlayStation, Contra Legacy of War, also released on the Saturn in 96, and C, The Contra Adventure in 1998. In the early 2000s, Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo developed 2 Contra games for the PlayStation 2, Contra Shattered Soldier in 2002, and Neo Contra in 2004. In 2007, Contra 4 was released for the NES, a co-production between Konami of America and Way Forward Technologies. Contra Rebirth, developed by M2, was released for the Wii. It is a WiiWare title in 2009. In 2011, Contra Hardcore Uprising was released for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 as an Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network title as co-production between Konami and Arc System Works. It is a prequel to Contra Hardcore that features the main antagonist from Hardcore, Bahamut, as the main character. It is also the first Contra game not to feature that brand in its title. The music from the arcade version of Contra is one of the soundtracks included in the video game album, Konami Game Music Volume 4, Ajax, which was released by Alpha Records on May 10th, 1988. In CD, catalog number 28XA-201, cassette, and vinyl. I'm not going to read you the other numbers, you don't care. The name of the Vampires Weekend second album is an homage to this game. Vampire Weekend band, second album, homage to this game. It's Contra. What can I tell you don't already know? Have you played it? Good. I don't need to tell you anymore. Have you not played it? Good. The video's over. You're going to go play it now.